I found this unusual brass object while cleaning out my grandfather's old barn. It looks like some kind of foldable tool, and it's quite heavy for its size. Judging by its look and feel, it might be from the 1800s. This is a 19th century folding pricket candlestick, a compact brass candle holder designed for travel. It features a collapsible central shaft and hinged legs that fold flat, allowing it to be packed neatly in a traveler's kit or military chest. When fully opened, the three arms unfold into a tripod base, and a central spike, known as a pricket, would hold a candle upright. This particular design is closely associated with Japanese inventor Tanaka Hisashige, who created a version around the 1830s. Known as a kaichu shokudai, or pocket candlestick, Tanaka's model became famous for its remarkably efficient folding mechanism, crafted entirely from flat brass components. Folding candlesticks were common in Asia and Europe, where travelers, merchants, and officers relied on portable lighting devices like this one. In England, a similar style called the Brighton bun was popular among officers and explorers. It consisted of two screw-together pans that opened into a portable candlestick. When we were at a restaurant, we saw this picture on our table. We spent a while trying to figure out what kind of machine it was, but none of us could agree. Does anyone know what this is? This item is an olive press, a traditional device used to extract oil from olives. These presses have been used for thousands of years, dating back to ancient Greece and Rome, and variations of the same basic mechanism are still used in some parts of the world today. A typical olive press included a large stone wheel or mill that crushed the olives into a paste. The paste was then placed into woven bags or baskets, which were stacked beneath a wooden or stone press. By turning a screw or using a lever mechanism, pressure was applied to the stack, forcing out the oil, while separating it from the solids and water. In ancient Mediterranean cultures, olive oil was more than just a food staple. It was also used in medicine, cosmetics, religious rituals, and even as fuel for lamps. I found this beautifully decorated cast iron object in an old bank where I work. It has a wooden handle, floral patterns, and what looks like a metal press at the base. The whole thing feels quite old and solid, maybe even Victorian. What do you think this was used for? This object is a Victorian-era desk embossing seal press, made by the London-based firm Parkins & Gatto, a prominent supplier of fine office equipment in the late 19th century. The lever-operated embossing press evolved in the mid-19th century as an alternative to older screw-style presses. This particular model, known as Patent 3965, features a lever mechanism, a cast iron frame, and gold floral decorations hand-painted onto a black enamel finish. It was used to press embossed seals into official documents. Embossing presses like this were standard fixtures in British and American offices throughout the second half of the 19th century. The seal would leave a raised imprint, often a crest or a company emblem, on paper, serving as proof of authenticity. This made the tool especially useful in legal offices, banks, and business correspondence. Seal presses are still used today, though mostly for ceremonial purposes. Antique models like this one are considered collectible for their craftsmanship and historical significance. Depending on condition and markings, they typically sell for between $100 and $300 on the antique market. I found this heavy brass object among my grandfather's belongings. It comes in a worn leather case and has "Made for Royal Navy" engraved on the lid along with a crown emblem. Does anyone know what it was used for? What you found is a pocket sextant, a compact navigational tool designed to determine your position by measuring the angle between a celestial object and the horizon. Despite its small size, it performs the same essential function as a full-sized marine sextant. These instruments were especially popular in the 19th and early 20th centuries, valued for their portability and precision. They were often carried by surveyors, military officers, and explorers who needed a reliable way to find their location on land or at sea. The device operates on the principle of double reflection. Inside the case, it houses two small mirrors, the index mirror and the horizon mirror, along with a vernier or micrometer scale for reading the measured angle. To use it, the observer would look through a small peephole or miniature telescope, align the reflected image of a celestial body with the horizon, and then take the angle reading from the scale. To determine their exact location, they also used a high-precision timepiece, typically a chronometer or a chronograph. By combining the measured angle with the precise time, navigators could calculate their latitude and longitude using special navigational tables. Though pocket sextants are more difficult to use than full-sized versions due to their tiny optics and narrow field of view, they were essential for navigation in the field. I came across a pile of about 15 of these curious metal objects at my friend's grandmother's house. Each one has a cylindrical drum attached to a handle with a rod that loosely slides in and out. What do you think these are? What you found is a Tibetan handheld prayer wheel, known in Tibetan as a mani lakor. These have been used in Tibetan Buddhist practice for centuries as a way to accumulate merit and focus the mind during meditation. Each wheel contains a tightly rolled scroll inscribed with mantras. According to tradition, spinning the wheel clockwise, even once, is believed to be equivalent to verbally reciting all of the mantras stored inside. That's why prayer wheels have long been used by both monks and laypeople across Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan, and surrounding regions. The small chain with a weight helps the cylinder spin smoothly when flicked, and the motion is meant to symbolically spread blessings and compassionate intentions outward to all beings. Handheld prayer wheels likely first appeared in Tibet between the 11th and 13th centuries. Over time, they evolved from simple wooden or copper designs into more elaborate objects, often decorated with silver, coral, turquoise, and embossed script. My grandpa gave me this, and it seems to be a piggy bank of some sort, but there's no obvious way to open it. It looks like a small chest made of metal with no visible lock. Does anyone know what it is? This item is a vintage treasure chest mystery bank, a mechanical coin bank produced in the United States during the mid-20th century. It was designed to store coins securely using a hidden release mechanism that made it difficult to open without knowing the correct steps. To open the pirate chest mystery bank, first insert a coin into the slot on top. This is an important step. It activates the internal mechanism. Next, turn the bank on its side and use a paperclip or a thin tool to press into the small hole on the bottom. This releases the locking pin. Once the pin is disengaged, the front coin slot panel can be carefully pulled forward. After removing the panel, turn the chest upside down and gently shake it to empty the coins. To close the bank, reverse the steps, slide the panel back into place, and make sure it sits flush. If a gap is visible, the locking system won't reset. Finally, turn the bank on its side and push the pin back in to lock everything in place. My dad found this strange-looking device at an estate sale and bought it for $10 without having any idea what it is. It has a cast iron frame, a hand crank, and a small grinding wheel mounted at an angle. Does anyone know what it is? What your dad bought is a hand-cranked tool used for sharpening the blades of sickles and scythes. It was produced in the early 20th century by International Harvester under their McCormick Deering brand, which specialized in agricultural tools and machinery. The device works by rotating a small grinding wheel using the side-mounted crank. The blade is drawn across the stone at a fixed angle, allowing the user to maintain a consistent edge while sharpening. These sharpeners were valued for being portable and easy to use, making them a practical solution for keeping cutting tools sharp right in the field. I found this heavy metal piece while going through some old tools in my grandfather's workshop. It has a collet on one end and some kind of adjustable gauge on the other. Does anyone know what this could be? What you found is an indexing head from a gemstone faceting machine made by Lee Lapidaries. This tool is used in lapidary work to shape gemstones by grinding them against a flat, rotating disc called a lap. The gemstone is mounted on a metal rod, which fits into the indexing head. The head holds the stone firmly in place at a fixed angle, while the cutter presses it against the spinning lap. After polishing a facet, the lapidary manually rotates the entire head to the next position. I came across this strange dome-shaped structure in the middle of a field while browsing photos online. It looks like a giant white sombrero. Does anyone know what it is? This structure is part of a VOR station, which stands for Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Range. It's a type of ground-based radio navigation system used by aircraft. Developed in the 1940s and widely adopted in the 1950s, VOR stations revolutionized air navigation by providing pilots with a reliable way to determine their position and stay on course. Each VOR station transmits a radio signal in all directions, hence the name. Aircraft equipped with VOR receivers can determine their bearing to or from the station, allowing pilots to follow precise routes, even in poor visibility or without GPS. The dome-shaped structure you saw covers the antenna array that generates these signals. This radome protects the sensitive equipment from the weather. By the late 20th century, thousands of VOR stations had been installed around the world, forming the backbone of air traffic navigation. While newer systems like GPS have taken over many of their functions, VOR stations are still widely used as a backup and remain a critical part of aviation infrastructure. We've had this wooden tool in the family for years. It was found on our old farm in Finland. It looks like a pair of tongs or pincers, but we've never known what it was actually used for. Does anyone know what it is? What you have is an old wooden divider, also known as a compass. Tools like this have a long history and were already in use by craftsmen in Europe as early as the Middle Ages. They appeared in illustrations of carpenters' toolkits from the 13th century and remained essential measuring instruments in woodworking, metalworking, and cartography for centuries. Back then, if a craftsman needed a tool like this, he made it himself. There was no standardized design. The compass, as we know it today, began to take shape in the 19th century. During the industrial era, patents for improved divider designs began to appear in both Europe and the United States. Notably, in 1850, United States patent number 7257 was granted to Lucius Chamberlain for a refined compass with a screw-tightened joint. A few years later, in 1855, George Parkhurst patented proportional dividers that could scale measurements up or down. By then, the compass had taken on the familiar form we recognize today. What is this unusual whiskey ampoule? It came in a cardboard tube labeled Letzte Hilfe, which is German for last aid. It looks like some kind of gag gift, but I'm not exactly sure. Does anyone know what this is? This whiskey ampoule is simply a gag gift. Such ampoules were produced in Germany during the 1960s and 1970s by companies like Wolfgang Noack from Hamburg. In the United States, similar items were sold under names like Thirst Aid Kit or Desert Survival Kit, often containing miniature bottles labeled for gin, bourbon, or scotch. Today, these items are considered collectibles, usually priced between $10 and $30, depending on their rarity and condition. I found this strange metal object while cleaning the fireplace in the house we just moved into. It looks like a cast iron pan with a diamond-shaped design in the center and handles on both sides. There's also a ceramic or firebrick insert in the middle. What do you think this is? What you found is a kerosene fire starter tray. These heavy cast iron pans are designed to help start fires more efficiently in stoves or fireplaces. The ceramic or firebrick insert in the center absorbs kerosene. Once saturated, it can be lit and placed under the logs. The burning insert stays lit for 10 to 15 minutes, long enough to ignite even damp wood. This kind of device has been especially popular in colder regions like New England. Known by names like fire starter, firelighter, or smudge pot, these tools were a common part of daily hearth life from the 1890s through the 1930s. They came in different shapes and materials, but all followed the same basic principle. While their use peaked in the early 20th century, cast iron fire starter trays with ceramic or soapstone inserts are still being manufactured and sold today. Companies like Woody's and Uniflame offer modern versions that follow the same design and purpose. I found this unusual cast iron tool while helping my uncle clean out his old workshop. It's marked Durham Specialty Company, Raleigh, North Carolina, and features two narrow metal discs set into a fixed frame. What do you think this tool was used for? This object is a plug tobacco cutter made by the Durham Specialty Company of Raleigh, North Carolina, around the early 1900s. It was patented in 1904 by inventor Henry Smith and was designed to cut bars of plug tobacco into smaller portions, commonly known as plugs. The cutter features a cast iron U-shaped frame with two circular cutting wheels mounted into each arm. When a block of dense chewing tobacco was pressed between the blades, the wheels would rotate and slice off a clean, uniform portion. At the time, plug tobacco was widely used, especially before cigarettes became dominant in the 1920s. Many cutters like this one were given away by tobacco companies as promotional items. They were often stamped with the company's name and placed right on the store counter, serving as both a tool and an advertisement. The Durham Specialty Company itself operated for only a few years, from around 1903 to shortly after 1907. In the last video, I asked you to guess what this wooden tool might have been used for. Everyone had great guesses, and many of you got it right. This item is a glove stretcher, a device once used for easing or stretching gloves to make them easier to put on. Thanks to everyone who participated and shared their thoughts, and maybe that one was a bit too easy. A special shout out to Just Here for being the first to correctly identify it. Alright, it's time for another mystery item. Take a look at this old metal device that was found behind an abandoned house. What do you think it was used for? Leave your guesses in the comments, and I'll reveal the answer in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Your support motivates me to create more videos. See you next time.